Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about Vladimir Putin, Russian president. Putin, right? World famous leader, right? So now let's start. Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia, serving in this role for multiple terms. Through his influence on Russian politics has expanded much longer. Here an overview of his background, rise to power, leadership style and policies. Early life and background. Full name Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. Born on October 7, 1952 in Leningrad, right now in Petersburg, Russia, right. We will see family, right, family background of Putin. Putin came from a working class background. His father, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, right, was a conscript in the Soviet Navy. And his mother, Maria, worked in a factory. He has a brother, but his elder brother died of diphtheria in childhood. Now we will see education of Putin. Putin attended Leningrad State University, where he studied law and graduated in 1975. It was during his time at university that he began to express an interest in politics and intelligence work. KGB career. Now we will see, right. After graduating, Putin joined the KGB, Committee for State Security, the Soviet Union's security and intelligence services. He was stationed in East Germany from 1885 of 1990, where he worked as a spy. While his activities there remains somewhat secret, it's widely believed that he worked to recruit spies and monitor the activities of German citizens. This time in the KGB was foundational in spying his wide view, worldview, right? Particularly his focus on Russian nationalism and the importance of a strong centralized state. Political rise in post-Soviet Russia. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Putin returned to Russia and entered politics. He began working for the St. Petersburg City Hall under Anatoly Sobchak, a permanent liberal reform. Right, his role involved dealing with foreign business interests, which allow him to build connections with influential figures in both Russia. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow, where he started working in the administration of President Boris Yeltsin. Right, President Boris Yeltsin. He quickly rose through the rank and became a key figure within the Yeltsin government. By 1997, he has become the head of the Federal Security Service, FSB, right? The succession to the KGB, and in 1998, he was appointed to the powerful post of Secretary of the Security Council. Rise to presidency, right? Right? Rise to presidency. In 1999, President Yeltsin, facing decline popularity, appointed Putin as prime minister. Shortly thereafter, therefore, Yeltsin resigned and Putin became acting president. Right. In March 2000, he was elected to a full term as president. Putin's initial popularity was based on his strong stance on Chechnya and his image as a strong leader who could restore order in a country that had experienced year of economic hardship and political instability following his collapse of the Soviet Union. Right. Now, key moments in Putin's political career. Okay, we will see. 2000, consolidation of power. In 2000s, economic growth. The early 2000s saw a rise in global oil prices, which greatly benefits Russia's economy. Putin was able to use the revenue to stabilize the country's finances, reduce poverty, and rise Russia's international profile. Right, control over media. We will see control over media. Right, media. Putin has been criticized for covering media freedoms. Several independent media outlets were taken over by state-controlled companies or shut down and opposition voices were silenced or marginalized. Authoritarian tendency. Putin slowly consolidated power through a series of constitutional changes, media control, and the elimination of political opponents. In 2008, Medvedev presidency. In 2008, Medvedev presidency. Term limits. In 2008, due to term limits, Putin did not run for president. Instead, Dmitry Medvedev, his close ally, took office while Putin became prime minister. Many so this has a way for Putin to maintain control behind the census through. Medvedev was seen as a more liberal figure. This arrangement is sometimes called the 10 democracy, right? Called the 10 democracy. Now, 2012 returned to presidency. In 2012, Putin returned to the presidency after a controversial election. His return sparked wide separated protest due to allegation of election fraud and growing dissatisfaction with his rule. During his third term, he faced increasing in citizen criticism, right? He faced increasing criticism for human rights abuses, crackdowns on dissent, and the suppression of opposition leaders. Annexation of Crimea, 2014, one of the most pivotal moments in Putin's presidency was Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. Right, this move sparked international. This moment separated international condemnation and led to sanctions began imposed on Russia by the West. Putin's actings were popular domestically with many Russian viewing the annexation as reclaiming historic Russian territory. This event also led to the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine with Russian background separatists fighting against the Ukraine government. Now 2010 and 2020 constitutional changes. Putin continued to consolidate power and limit democratic freedom. In 2020, he pushed through constitutional reforms that called allow him to stay in power until 2036. Further, commenting, he pushed through constitutional reform that called allow him to stay in power until 2036. Further, commenting his grief on the Russian political system. The Russian opposition, including prominent figure like Alexei Navalny, faced harassment, imprisonment, and exile. War in Ukraine, 2022. Putin's most recent major action was the 2012 invasion of Ukraine, which he justified as a military intervention to protect Russian-speaking Ukrainians and counter NATO expansion. Right, the war has led to a devastating humanitarian crisis with thousands of casualties, millions displaced, and massive international sanctions targeting Russia. The innovation has resulted in world-separated global condemnation, especially condemnation, especially from Western countries, while strengthening Putin's resolve in maintaining a narrative of defending Russia against external threats. Leadership style. Now we will say leadership style. Putin is often described as a strong man who believes in the centralized of power. His leadership has been characterized by nationalism. Putin frequently invoke the idea of Russian greatness and has worked to restore the prestige of the Russian state on the global. Authoritarianism criticize argue that Putin has undermined democratic institutions in Russia. Opposition parties and independent media are often suppressed and political opponents are harassed or imprisoned. Control over elites. Putin has surrounded himself with a small group of loyal oligarchs. Some of women have accumulated wealth thought close ties with the state. These ties help secure his power domestically. Foreign policy. Now, Putin's foreign policy has been marked by a desire to resent Russia's influence globally, particularly in former Soviet state, right? He has fostered close relation with countries like China while opposing NATO and European Union expansion, right? Putin legacy. Putin's legacy is highly debated. Domestic. He is credited with stabilizing Russia after the shoes of the 19th, reviving its economy and restoring national pride. However, his government is also associated with corruption, authoritarianism, and a lack of political freedoms. International Putin has been seen as a defender of Russia interest, but his action, particularly regarding Ukraine, have made him a but his action, particularly regarding Ukraine, have made him a peri in the West while earning support from other authoritarian controversies and criticism. Corruption, right? Putin and his inner circle are often accused of corruption and professional enrichment, with many alleging that he has used his power to amass a significant fortune. Human rights. Under Putin's rule, there has been a significant decline in political freedoms. Russia is frequently criticized for its treatments of political opponents, journalists, and human rights activities. Use of forces. Putin's government has been accused of using military force to suppress dissent, both domestically in Crimea, for example, right, and internationally in Ukraine, Georgia, and Syria. Personal life. Putin is known for being highly private about his personal life. He has been married to Lyudmila Putina, right? With women, he has two daughters, Maria and Yekaterina. Thought they divorced in 2014. He is also a non enthusiast of martial arts, particularly judo, and often president himself has an image of virility and strength. Right now, we will see conclusion. Right. So, Putin, Vladimir Putin remains one of the most powerful and controversial leader in modern history. His tenure has seen Russian transition from the chaotic post-Soviet era to a more assertive, albeit authoritarian state. His leadership continues to shape not just Russian politics but also global geopolitics, particularly in relation to his confrontations with the West, his support for global authoritarian regimes, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Thank you.